Dice Tower Tonight, episode 72.
Games about nature that are certain to grow on you.
Ooh. Welcome to Dice Tower Tonight, a videocast about board games and card games, and especially the people who play them. On tonight's show, we turn the sights and sounds of nature on. We're talking about games that try to capture the feel of the great outdoors. Plus, I have a game for Crystal and the chat. We discuss some games we've played lately, and we answer questions from the audience live. I'm Eric Summerer, and joining me now, the Moana to my hey, Crystal Pisano.
I love hey. Oh, I mean, not just because Alan Tudyk does the voice, which honestly, that in and of itself is one of the best parts of that whole movie, is that they hired well-known actor Alan Tudyk to voice the chicken.
Well, he's got to be in all of the new generation of Disney animated films, and he's often the villain.
Right.
And in some ways, Hey is an antagonist for Moana.
I mein,
in the film.
That's true, I suppose, but he's a friendly antagonist.
Indeed. I actually didn't realize that Alan Tudyk was the was Hey.
No. You have to look it up. There's a 15-20 second clip on YouTube of a behind the scenes thing where he's in the booth recording and he does a baka, and then he turns to the camera and he goes, I don't remember which, he goes, I went to Juilliard for this or something along those lines. And it's just so perfect.
Oh, well, happy virtual gaming con week, Crystal. I'm wearing my swag today. I've got the t-shirt. Today is the beginning.
I'm a little bummed. I didn't get a t-shirt. I need a t-shirt.
I believe they are available on the Board Game Geek store. Actually,
I should probably go get one of my own
if you wanted to. I have not checked out any of the events for VGC yet. There's all sorts of stuff going on, and I do have my ticket. I have access to all the Discord servers and all of that, but I haven't had a chance to try and jump in yet. I'm running a couple of events later this week. I'm running 2 sessions of Merchant of Venus, and I'm running a session of Parsley. We're going to play Action Castle 4. With an interactive live chat, so that I'm not waiting for text chat to come through like we did a few weeks ago. But I'm looking forward to that, to try and play with a large group and see how that adventure works out. How about you?
I think people are excited about your Parsley game. I heard it filled up pretty quickly after you put it up.
It did. I think I had 8 slots, and they did not last long. So that's
awesome.
That's exciting.
The only thing that I am officially scheduled for as of right now is I and Ambi are hosting karaoke night on Saturday night immediately following the closing ceremonies.
Okay.
So for you East Coast people, it will be late, and I apologize for that. But we knew either Friday or Saturday night was the right time to do a karaoke event, and we didn't want to interfere with some of the other larger events going on. And honestly, karaoke makes sense to do later in the evening, so anyone who can stay up, or if you're on the West Coast, it's 8 p.m., I think. It's not that late, but as soon as the closing ceremonies are over, Ambi and I will be on Twitch, on the Board Game Blitz Twitch channel, and it's not just you watching us sing. If you download the free software, you can actually participate and sing with us. So if you're part of the virtual gaming convention, go to the page on Tabletop Events and get yourself a ticket for that. You don't necessarily need a ticket to come watch on Twitch, obviously, right. But we would like kind of an idea of how many people are potentially planning on joining us for that. And again, you can sing or you don't have to. You can just watch. Watching Ambi sing Disney songs all evening just makes me happy, and I imagine it's the same for most other people.
Similarly, I think on Friday night, our friend Derek Porter is running a Rock Band virtual concert. And I got to be one of the guest vocalists for that. That one is pretty late for me. I think it's midnight Central Time.
Ooh.
Or it's something in the late realm.
Yeah.
For an old guy like me, I probably will not be still awake at that point. But I'm hoping that I can catch it afterward and see the replay. It's going to be fun.
I'm looking forward to that one as well. And I may be doing some other things kind of more spur of the moment. My my 9 to 5 or 8 to 5 job has been keeping me really busy lately, and so I didn't want to commit myself to too much stuff and then not be able to fulfill anything. So if there is anyone that wants to play games with me during Virtual Gaming Con, I am in the Discord server, and you can always reach out to me on Twitter or wherever else. So if there's a game that you'd like to play with me specifically, please feel free to reach out to me, and maybe we can try and figure out a time to do it. Otherwise, I might honestly just post in the looking for games thing. Board Game Arena is super quick and simple to pick up games on, and I'd be more than willing to do that with just whoever. So lots of options there. And honestly, I will teach the crew to anybody who wants to. If you have Tabletop Simulator, I already have the mod for the crew, and I can teach the crew to anybody who wants to learn that. So
that is very cool. Well, speaking of playing some games, Crystal, what have you gotten to the table lately?
So, we're still kind of in a pandemic.
Kind of.
So
yeah, kind
of. A little bit of pandemic.
That's a scotch of pandemic still going on. Yes.
So wear those masks, everybody.
Yes,
put your mask on if you're in public, if you can. I know some people have medical conditions that make mask wearing difficult, and I am cognizant of that. But if you can wear a mask, do it. I got a game back to the table that Eric and I actually discussed right after Dice Tower West in the barely pre-pandemic world. And Eric and I both enjoyed it quite a bit. And that was...
Oh, Nova Luna.
Nova Luna. So this game has a solo mode. And I was like, well, I really love this game. You know how you get a new game and you kind of just want to play that a lot right when you acquire it?
Sure.
Well, when I got my copy, it was pandemic time, and I was like, I want to play Nova Luna, but I don't have anybody to play it with. So if you turn to the back of the rulebook, there's the solo game. Now, we've talked in the past about solo game rules, and I think I've specifically mentioned that I don't necessarily like when a solo game is just like, do the best you can with no other information, because I need something to shoot for. Right. I think we talked about that when I did Ripple Rush, which is another Stronghold Games title. Ripple Rush's solo mode was not great. This is still try and get the best score, and in this case, best is lowest, but it does have a benchmark to shoot for. It's specifically, you're shooting for a score under 100. I have not accomplished that yet.
Okay.
My first score was abysmal. I did get 104 the second time I played through it. So we discussed the full game before, but I'll kind of go over a little bit of it. So in Nova Luna, it is similar to the game Habitats, and in fact that is where Uwe Rosenberg got the inspiration for this game, and then also takes mechanisms from other Uwe games like Patchwork, involving a timing mechanism where the person in last place takes the next turn. In the solo game, there are obviously no other players, so there are no turns, and you do not use the time track at all. So you still use the tiles to fill in spaces along the outside of the board. You fill in the complete board once, and then you separate your specific colored tokens into 2 stacks. One stack of 8 tokens and another stack of 13 tokens. And I will say the rulebook specifically says to stack them. Do you see how tiny these things are?
Yeah, that's not very big.
Like, there's the tip of my finger. It's smaller than the tip of...
Yeah, they're not
Stacking big. 13 of these up.
It's the dexterity element.
It's definitely possible. They're flat discs. But, like, why? Why would you tell me to stack them? I don't understand. There's no reason for the stacking. Pile of 8, pile of 13 is what you should do. Then you work from the pile of 8 in the first phase of the solo game. You pull tiles similarly to how you do in the regular game, in that the moon marker, you can only pick the 3 tiles that are clockwise in front of it. So you only have those 3 to choose from. And you continue taking tiles. Again, no time track. Just keep taking tiles and placing your tokens out until one of 2 things happens. All the tiles are gone, or you've placed your first 8 tokens. When one of those 2 things happens, you count up the amount of time on all of the tiles that are in front of you.
Okay.
And add 10. Or no, I don't. Do you add 10? I know you add 10 in the final round, but then you might have to add 10 for leftover tokens that you have in front of you, I think. Then you refill the tiles and do it again in the second round with the stack of 13. Again, just taking tiles as you would normally in the game, adding your little tokens to the tiles, and when you can no longer place tokens or tiles, the game ends. You do the same scoring thing again. You count up all of the time on the tiles in front of you and add 10 points per leftover token that you couldn't place. And you're trying to get a score of 100 or less. It's difficult and puzzly in a good way. Like, in the regular game Nova Luna, I don't agonize about the decisions quite as much because you know a lot of tiles are going to come out. But in this specific instance, you're only getting a maximum of 22 tiles. And there's a lot of stuff left in the box at that point. So you kind of have to look at what's available. Okay, there's only 2 red ones out there, and that tile requires 4 red. I don't know if 2 more red are going to come out. There's a lot of decision making. Obviously, a little bit of luck based on the tile draw as well. But like I said, my second playthrough, I did get 104, which is close to that threshold it specifically says is great.
Well, good. So, that's great.
Yeah, I enjoyed the solo mode of this one a lot more than I did the solo mode of Ripple Rush. And honestly, I'm just really happy that I got to play it again. I'm holding up the bottom of the box, which of course, Bonacore always does the ads for the other games, so it doesn't. Everybody's like, "What game are we playing?" It's Nova Luna. Yes. So I like the solo mode. I think if this is a game you're looking to pick up because of all the buzz you've heard about it, and you were thinking, "Oh, maybe I'll wait till after the pandemic." I mean, do that if you want, but the solo game is fun. So
I like that method of doing a solo game where you have a score threshold you're trying to reach. Agricola does that for the solo mode. I think it's like 50 points. You're supposed to get 50 points. And then as soon as you get 50, then you play again, except you get extra cards to start. You get to pick one of the cards you built and say, well, you get this first, but now you have to get 53 points in order to win. And it's this sort of, crawl and how far down the line can you get with a little bit of a head start, but still you got to get more points now and use that to get more stuff. It's pretty neat. I like how that works.
I think I would like to see, even in these abstract type games, more moving target style goals for solo modes. And again, I'm not much of a solo gamer, but to your point, once I beat that 100-point threshold, yes, I can keep playing and trying to get lower and lower and lower and see how low I can get. But if there was another little bit to add in or take out or something, I think that would add a little, make it a little bit more dynamic on future plays.
All right, so moving on from Nova Luna, I believe it was Shakespeare's 14th sonnet that said, "Who lives in a pineapple under the sea?" SpongeBob Square Fluxx. This is a co-production from Looney Labs and Spin Master Games. I think they had the license for SpongeBob. It is a slightly larger box than most versions of Fluxx you have seen because it has this little collector's coin in it. Look, it's a little SpongeBob coin. Let me open this up. So the joke short review, it's Fluxx with SpongeBob. But that's the...
We're all shocked, I tell you.
That's the short review for every Fluxx game, and we all, laugh and haha. Right. The larger box has the room for the coin, which is just a little recessed thing there. It's a little plastic coin, two-sided, that says, "It's my turn!" And it's all glittery and sparkly and SpongeBob-y. And then there's the slot for the cards. And this edition came with some extra, almost promo cards. I think there might be another edition that doesn't have those extra 7 cards. I'm annoyed, though, because there's a card in the bottom I can't get out.
Oh, it's good and stuck in there.
And
now you're going to have to bend it.
I got it. That's one of those annoyances. If you're going to make a trough for your cards, make the holes go all the way down.
That was on our annoyances in our list during Dice Tower West. That came up.
10-second explanation of Fluxx. Fluxx starts with 2 rules. Draw 1 and play 1. You have a hand of 3. On your turn, you draw 1 card. You must play 1 card. There's no way to win at the beginning of the game until someone plays a goal card, which associates with some of the keepers. These are cards that you will play in front of you that are items from the SpongeBob, in this case, universe, like Sandy Cheeks. right there. And that sits in front of you. And some combination of those keepers is how you will eventually win the game. All of the keepers in SpongeBob are SpongeBob-related characters. You got Sheldon J. Plankton. And the art design on this is a little more fleshed out than other versions of Fluxx. A lot of the basic versions, original versions, are a little more stark, have very simplistic illustrations. This one, these all have fully illustrated backgrounds. It's not a lot, but it's a little bit of a cosmetic difference with the SpongeBob license. It has most of the basic cards you would expect from Fluxx. There's rule cards that change how many cards you're drawing, how many you're playing. I do appreciate some of the rules that have creeped into more recent editions of Fluxx, like recycling, which lets you get rid of some of your keepers to draw more cards, get rid of some goals to draw more cards. So when you can realize that a particular goal isn't going to work, you can get rid of it and sort of crank the system along a little better, which helps the game move. These are all good things that Fluxx has added in the last several editions. But what makes an edition of Fluxx, or that edition of Fluxx, is the special rules that come with that license. Like the Monty Python Fluxx game has a card where you can quote Python and get some sort of bonus. Or the Wizard of Oz Fluxx has, if you sing music from the Wizard of Oz, you get some sort of bonus. And this falls into that general category here. So there's an action card called Imagination, where you can pretend you have a keeper in order to win the game. As long as no one can prove that you don't have it. I think no one else has that keeper. Oh, in their hand as well. So you can say, I need SpongeBob to win. I have SpongeBob. I imagine I have SpongeBob. And as long as no one has SpongeBob, you can win the game that way. There is also, there's one about that coin. You know, that silly little coin. There's a rule that says you have to pass the coin to the next player each turn. And if you don't, there's a penalty. And, of course, the ones that are really going to stand out for me. There is one called Narrator's Voice. Start of turn option. If you start your turn by saying, the blank, filling in the blank with something from the ocean, draw one extra card. Pirate Talk. If you adopt an outrageous pirate accent during your turn, draw one extra card, draw two extra cards if you have been continuing to use your accent since your previous turn. This can be replaced by Cartoon Talk. If you speak with a cartoon character's voice during your turn, draw one extra card. Draw two extra cards if you have been continuing to use your funny voice since your previous turn.
So what you're saying is we should do this for the rest of the episode.
If we want to draw those extra two cards, that is exactly what we need to do, yes.
I'm sure the chat would not be annoyed at all. They'll stick around.
I'm sure neighboring tables, when you play this game in a crowd, would be like, oh, that is a soothing voice. I am so happy that I sat here instead of...
So...
Oh my.
You need, if you are considering SpongeBob Fluxx, you need to know, one, that it's Fluxx. And I am fine with Fluxx. It is a fun, silly game that is intended to be a little chaotic. And riding that wave is the key to playing the game and having a good time. It shouldn't go longer than half an hour to play, and if it does, we always have the ejector seat option when we play Fluxx. If it's past half an hour, it's like, okay, we're done. We don't need to continue playing this game. But knowing that is the style of game that this edition is, that there are it's only a couple of cards in there, but you might be talking like a pirate. I can't hear you. Or you might be talking in a silly cartoon voice to draw extra cards. It, I'm sure, is a big hit for families. My kids are not giant SpongeBob fans. That's not really a show we have watched. And I don't know if, for me, this is not a draw for the theme. But those silly cards, I'm kind of more interested. But I would rather play Monty Python Fluxx if I'm going to be doing silly things to get draw bonuses.
I never cease to be amazed by how many similarities we have. So admittedly, I haven't played it in years, but the only version of Fluxx that I own is the Monty Python one. And that's the thing, like, people like to hate on Fluxx it does what it does well. Now, if you don't like that style of game, that is okay. But I think especially for these, like, the Monty Python one seems almost too niche. Like, I really like it. But the type of people who like Monty Python and the type of people who like really light, silly card games, there's not going to be as much crossover there in my mind as, for instance, a family who likes SpongeBob and also likes light, silly games. That feels like a better fit to me.
In this same edition, this Spin Master Looney Labs combination, there is a Marvel edition as well, which I didn't get, but it also has the collector's coin with like a Captain America thing. So if your kids are more into the superheroes, then the Marvel version may stand out. I still like the Star Trek version. I think that does some cool things with the keepers interacting with each other. So this certainly isn't. This probably isn't going to stick around amongst the many copies of Fluxx. How many do you need at some point?
I mean, really, one maybe.
I have more than that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this one's probably going to go away, but that's more just because the theme doesn't connect. It is a silly, fun version of the game.
Well, that's really cool.
So, it's time to play a game. Are you ready to play a game, Crystal?
I'm always ready to play a game.
Well, this is, as we mentioned, the first day of Virtual Gaming Con, and Tom and Z kicked off this afternoon by playing a game show, and we traditionally, when we get to do a live convention, usually do a game show on the first day of the con. So I thought, let us emulate a game show with you and the chat, because it is time to play the Feud!
Yay!
Ha-ha! Okay, let me adjust the webcam just a little bit here. We are going to play... We're not going to play SpongeBob Fluxx. No, we're going to play... Take that away.
Is it
That's gone.
That'd be really funny.
We are going to play Family Feud. Here's how we're going to do this with you versus the chat. I have a series of questions. We're going to try and play to 300 and see who can get that number of points. We'll start doubling if things look like we need to do that. It's Family Feud rules. Crystal, since you are playing solo, you will get to go first in every round. You will take a guess after I read the question. And if you get the number one answer, the control goes to you. If not, we're going to send it to the chat. And I'm going to, at least, we're going to try first with picking the sixth answer as people in the chat answer. I'll pick the sixth answer. If chat gets control, I think I might, after that, take every third answer just to keep things moving. But we'll deal with that as we deal with that. After whoever is in control gets as many answers as they can, and then eventually gets 3 strikes or clears the board, if there's anything left on the board, the other group will get a chance to steal and take those points. We've all seen this game show before. Any questions, Crystal?
I guess my question would be, should I hide the chat since they will be making guesses that theoretically won't end up as official guesses because that could influence me?
I do believe that would be a good idea to hide the chat.
Bye, chat!
While you do that, and I think I'm actually going to zoom in on our board here, and we get the full... We can still hear you, Crystal, but we'll just be looking at the board for now. So... Question number 1. Let me move my mic a little bit. That's as far as that's going to go. Okay. The top 5 answers are on the board. Crystal. They asked... Oh, I should probably say this is from the 40th anniversary edition of Family Feud, which it looks like that. Ah, look at that, Steve Harvey.
Look at him.
40th anniversary. I think this came out in 2016. So I don't know if that changes anything.
Somewhat recent.
Yeah. Name something family does together at Christmas.
I'm going to say eat.
Eat! Eat is the number one answer with
Yay!
46 respondents. So, of those, you have to clear the board in order to guarantee the points. Do you want to play or do you want to pass, Crystal?
I mean, so here's the thing. I do think that technically passing would be the correct thing, because with you taking every third answer from the chat, you're going to end up with a potentially a bunch of random stuff. But you know what? I'm going to play. It's the first round. Let's give it a shot.
Okay, so chat, feel free to kick stuff around. I will not start counting until Crystal is done, and then I will. So you can talk amongst yourselves and sort of, figure out what you want to answer when the time comes. Crystal, what is your next answer?
Can you just, so it's families do together at Christmas time?
Name something family does together at Christmas.
Okay, I'm going to say open presents.
Open presents is the number 2 answer with 34 respondents.
Okay. Decorate a tree.
I can't.
Oh, no.
I need an X. That's 1 strike.
Okay. Man, how is decorate a tree not one of them? Visit family? Is that, what does family do? Visit family? I don't know. That's probably
Survey
next.
says family together. Yes.
Okay. Bake cookies?
Baking. Survey says no. No baking.
All right.
One more answer.
One more. I don't think people would have said this, but I'm going to say go caroling.
Go caroling. Survey says ding. Singing.
Okay.
One more chance to clear the board, Crystal.
Something that people do Christmas time. Oh, decorate.
Do we see decorate? No, okay. I'm sorry. So
I know I said
chat,
decorate a tree before, but I figured maybe lights or something. Whatever.
I'm typing chat's turn. I'm going to start counting at this point.
Okay.
It would help, chat, if you put your answers in all caps. That would make it easier for me to spot them. There's 1 answer still on the board. I have 1 answer. I have 2 answers. I am waiting. I have 3. I have 4. I have 5. 1 more. The next one is... Oh, I hear a bunch of stuff. The 6th answer to come up is church. Is church on the board?
It probably
Survey
is. That sounds
says,
pretty good.
Ding!
Dang it!
That is the final. Chat steals the points after all that work. Oh my goodness.
That makes a lot of sense, and it's just something I don't think about as much
So
anymore.
46, 34, that's 80, 87, 94. That's 100. Chat gets an even 100 points.
All right.
Well, all right. That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah,
that was
that's totally cool.
just round 1. Let me close the things here and adjust.
You know, while you're adjusting, Eric, you and I think we put on some pretty fun game shows at times. Would you agree?
On occasion.
You know, my dog.
The dog agrees.
Thinks, yeah, Sterling really thinks so. Well, I was going to segue into what we're doing next week, but now I'm going to let you say it because I'm going to mute myself.
So next week is the Dice Towers Summer Spectacular, which is a series of events that are replacing what would have been Dice Tower East. And we are putting on all sorts of fun things. The Dice Tower Awards will be going on next week. But on Friday, this is 1 week from Friday, the 3rd of July, Crystal and I are hosting what we're calling the Spectacular Game Show, which is no pressure whatsoever. We're still working out the details on what that's going to be, but we're going to play some fun games with the chat, maybe some games that we haven't played in a while here on Dice Tower tonight. We're not really sure yet, but we're hoping that you'll join us for that at 8 p.m. Eastern Time next Friday, July 3rd.
Literally, like, right after I get off work, and that's only because I've been going into work early. Normally, that would be when I get off work. So.
Oh, boy.
I'm going to be prepared in advance, and I'm really excited, and I hope a lot of our Dice Tower Tonight friends come to that show, even though it is on a different day of the week. I'm really excited about it.
All right, question number 2, Crystal. Again, you're going to get first shot here.
Okay.
Name something you'd have a hard time doing if you didn't have lips.
I'm going to say talk.
Survey says talk is the number one answer. You've got 2 left. Do you want to play or pass?
I mean, I'm certain I know one of the other ones, so I think I'm going to play.
Okay, you're going to play. What do you think?
All right, eat.
Do we see eat? Yes, we do.
Okay, so the fact that it's eating and drinking helps me with my third one, potentially.
Okay. Can you sweep the board?
I'm going to say smooch.
Smooching. Seems like it should be on there. Is it?
Oh, no!
Smooching is not on the board.
I mean, I would, you could say blowing a raspberry, but I'm pretty sure that's not it. Talking, eating, drinking, smooching. What else do you do with your mouth? Oh, gosh. Oh, I really thought smooching was going to be up there.
Yep.
Now I'm really struggling. I'm going to say sing, even though that's
singing
kind of like talking.
Is singing on the board. That's a second strike. One more shot.
Getting stuck to a cold pole in A Christmas Story. I mean, that's your tongue, though.
Name something you'd have a hard time doing if you didn't have lips.
Didn't have lips. So I guess if you have a mouth but not lips, I'm gonna say putting on lipstick.
Do we have putting on lipstick? That is a third strike. I am typing chat's turn. And I will start counting.
Lips. Is it blowing a raspberry? I'm going to be real mad if it's blowing a raspberry.
Someone said Crystal in Vegas knows about licking a cold pole.
I grew up in Missouri.
All right, 1, 2, 3 answers. I need 3 more. I hear a lot of clicking now. 4, 5, and all 6 said whistle. Is whistle on the board?
No!
It is! Whistle is indeed on the board. So that is 56. That wasn't as high scoring. That is 64 points for chat.
Yep, well played, chat.
All right, so round 3 is going to be double points because that's how we played this game. And I will reset for 1 second.
I will admit, I get a little bit of a heartwarming feeling when I hear that chat has banded together and all 6 of the responses are the same.
Yes.
I'm not going to say it's because it was an obvious answer that everybody would just definitely say. I'm going to say they banded together.
All right. So the neat thing about this game is that everything is all on one piece of paper. We talked about this some time ago here on Dice Tower Tonight.
Yeah.
With the construction of this thing. It's not the nicest thing in the world. It's still, cardboard and pretty basic paper, but it works pretty well as a survey board. We're looking at 5 answers for our third question. Double points for this round. So, Crystal, here's your chance to catch up.
Okay.
Besides shaking hands, this is a very prescient question. Name another way people greet each other. Besides shaking hands, name another way that people greet each other.
I'm going to say wave.
Wave. Is wave on the board? It is.
Oh.
But it is not the number one answer, so chat gets a try. I will read the question again. Besides shaking hands, name another way people greet each other. It would be way more work for Eric to pick answers out of the chat if he went first. Yes, it would. 1, 2, 3. Lots of clicking. 4, 5, 6. A nod. A head nod is head nod on the board. It is. Nod head is on the board, and that means chat has control. Now, I'm just gonna do this real fast. I'm gonna go. I guess we're gonna go 6. There's enough people. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Head nod again. So I'm gonna go to bow. Is bow on the board? It is not. That is the first X. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Say hello. Is say hello on the board? Speak is on the board. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We already said that. Whistle. Is whistle on the board? That is a second strike. From whistle, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We already had said hello. We had say hello. We had bow. Do the ceremonial greetings ritual. Is do the ceremonial greetings ritual on the board? I'm so sorry, chat. Yeah, bow is not on there. So, Crystal.
Okay.
You have the top 2 answers left on the board. I'll read the question one more time. Besides shaking hands, name another way people greet each other.
While it would be very funny for me to say smooching again, I'm going to actually go with a hug.
A hug. Is a hug on the board? Yes, it is!
Yay!
So that's going to be a total of, let's see, we have 67, 77, 86, 93. 93 times 2 is 186. So you are now in the lead, Crystal.
All right.
186. The number 2 answer, say it with me, audience. Smooching.
Oh, it was smooching!
It was. All right. So
that's very telling of the people who filled out this survey that, like, how do you greet someone? The wave isn't first. It's the hug and the kiss.
Okay. This last one, or possibly last one, is going to be triple points. So it's pretty solid that somebody's going to win
ding,
on this
ding,
one.
ding, ah!
I mean, I've got 2 good questions left, but we're gonna see how if we can finish here.
Okay.
Name something people say they have to catch up on. There are 5 answers on the board.
Okay. I'm going to say sleep.
Is sleep on the board? Yes, it is. It's the number 1 answer.
Okay. I am going, even though I think I have an advantage if I pass it over, I'm going to play because I think that's more interesting.
Okay.
Oh, wait, you know what? No, chat hasn't gotten to play more than 1 round, though. No, I'm passing it over to the chat. I want them to play.
Okay. Chat has to clear the board.
I should write down what I think the answers are. I think I could do good at this.
Oh, I don't think I actually need to. All right, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Sleep we already have on the board. So from sleep, we go to TV shows. Catching up on TV. That is not on the board. Reading. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Work. Is work on the board? Yes, I'm going to say that's homework.
That would have been one of my answers as well, theoretically.
All right. I sort of lost where we were, so I'm going to go from the last work I see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We already said TV, so we're going to skip that one. Chores. Is chores on the board? Yes, it is. Housework. So from chores, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is not actually an answer. TV we already had. Reading. I don't think we've had reading.
That would have been one of my picks as well.
Is reading on the board? Yes, it is. There is one more answer to go.
Oh no, I think I know what it is.
From reading. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We had TV shows already. The news. Is the news on the board? That is a second
Okay.
strike. Okay, from the news. I lost it. There's the news. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We had reading already. Chores, yes, we had already. Chores, we had already. Reading, we had already. Chores, we had already. Chores, we had already. Cleaning, we had already. Exercise. Is exercise on the board? It is not. So,
I have a chance.
Crystal, you have one answer left on the board. You get one chance to steal these points, and I would be pretty sure, since we said this is triple, that you will win if you manage to win this right now.
So it literally would have been the first thing I would have said had I taken control of the board, because it is a thing that I desperately always need to catch up on, and that is emails.
Emails. Is emails on the board for the win? Emails is not on the board. Say it with me, audience. What is the number 2 answer? Bills.
Bills.
Chat wins the game.
Chat wins.
Chat wins. Well done, chat. Someone mentioned in the chat that chat didn't get a chance to play or pass. I skipped that decision just because that was going to be too confusing to try and poll the audience on playing or passing on Family Feud. But that was a great round. That was well done, everyone. And I hope that you enjoyed that one. Let me get back to our 2-shot here and see Crystal once again.
It was funny, even when I know I'm not on camera, I still talk with my hands. So, like, at one point, I was, like, gesticulating wildly, and I was like, no one can see me right now.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're just sort of used to it, right?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, what's funny, people might be like, oh, so you're like that on camera? And I'm like, no, I'm like that all of the time.
So it's on to our discussion for today. I think this has something to do with, as the weather has gotten warmer, although it's sort of always warm where you are, we've spent more time outside. And so I sort of suggested, well, have we done, games that are about the outdoors? And I don't think we've had this discussion yet, have we?
We haven't. And it's actually interesting and kind of prescient because in the last episode of Board Game Blitz, Ambi and I discussed our favorite themes in games. And this is before, obviously, I knew you and I were going to discuss something similar. And my number 5 on my top 5 was actually nature-themed games. It's a theme that I really like and I tend to gravitate toward. And we had a big discussion, and I'd love to hear your thoughts about what defines a game as a nature game, because there's a lot of things to consider there.
Yeah, I mean, it's a gradient for sure. In fact, one of the examples that I grabbed was basically a theme, like just an overlay. This game called Ecosystem, where you're laying out cards in a pattern, and each different animal sort of scores differently based on adjacency. It's an interesting puzzle, but it doesn't give the feel of being in nature. The illustrations are nice. The art is cool. It's got animal, pictures and stuff, but it's not like, I don't feel like I'm in the forest playing this game. Right. I feel like I'm laying out tiles. And whereas another example, Morels, a game about collecting mushrooms, maybe feels a little more like I'm trekking into the forest. Like the mechanisms are such that I have to go further in to the forest to collect things. And the more rare mushrooms are harder to get and worth more. I don't know, for some reason that feels more like a nature game than Ecosystem does.
I would agree, and I actually pulled a couple of kind of similar examples that I feel either don't feel nature-y but kind of are and do. So one I grabbed, which is a game that I love, is King Domino, which, especially in the base game, when you haven't added buildings or anything else, you're just putting out different land types and building out an outdoor, like a kingdom. But this to me doesn't feel like nature.
Right.
It feels like a puzzle. I still really love it. And honestly, the artwork is very evocative on this game as well. And that does add to me to the feel of it. Like seeing that little Loch Ness monster on one of the water tiles or the little hidden things on the other tiles, I think that adds to it to some degree. Whereas a game like Reef, even though it is pure abstract puzzle, you're constructing a 3D coral reef with the pieces that you're putting onto your board. So even though it's an abstract game, I think it is more evocative of nature than something like King Domino for that reason.
Also, because in Reef you are building your reef, you're rarely, I don't think, do you ever remove pieces in Reef? I don't think you do.
No, you continue to construct.
So it has that growth aspect. A lot of the games I was thinking about have some sort of a planting or growing regard. Like I talked about Flower Power a few weeks ago, where you're sort of growing your flower beds. Or what was that? There was another one. Any of the ones that are about trees. Photosynthesis. Chat has brought up in the chat.
Oh yeah, I'm not looking at chat.
Where you are, you hit it for the game. Yeah. Where you are sort of growing trees up and spreading seeds. There was a game called Bloom that I had many years ago that was about creating, like-typed planting areas of different flowers and sort of overlaying and planting over things to create these spaces. A lot of these nature games that come to mind have a growth aspect to them.
I think for me, when I say nature game, I'm using that term somewhat loosely in that not every game that contains elements of nature I would classify as a nature game, but if the outdoors or nature is a big part of it, either in the artwork or the theme or the mechanisms, I think that's where my brain thinks this is a nature game. And that could include more domesticated things like even potentially farming games or some animal-based games as well. Not all, like Beastie Bar, not a nature game, anthropomorphic animals standing outside a bar and waiting to get in, not nature. But other animal games might be. And then there's stuff for me like Cartographers, which is technically you're making a map, but in the course of the game, you're drawing out a little nature kingdom. And I have a game that I played recently with some friends online, and specifically, I really get into, using different colors and drawing different little monsters, and this feels like a real world that I've created in there. So for me, something like Cartographers even, I think, kind of qualifies.
Yeah. A lot of the examples that chat has been bringing up, Bosk is showing up a lot, which I have yet to play, but the art on that is beautiful.
I haven't played Bosk yet either.
And both Wingspan and Tussie Mussy have shown up, two Elizabeth Hargrave games that certainly apply.
I see Herbaceous. I love Herbaceous. It is in my quiver at all times, so I didn't even think to grab it because it's literally in my quiver. So. And
I keep Parks, about actually visiting the national parks, certainly applies. Takinoko, Amanda Panda just brought up, because that's all about growing bamboo.
Growing bamboo.
Yeah. That certainly applies. One subcategory that we haven't touched on quite yet is games that actually have a conservation bent to them. And I had two examples. One sec. I didn't have a lot of room. I had to go on the floor. Okay, so two fairly recent games that discuss this is Ocean Crisis, which is a kid's game about cleaning up the ocean. There's a lot of trash in this sort of trash wheel, and you're trying to clean up the shores, and trash will work its way down a river, and it gets harder to clean up if it gets to the ocean, so you have to try and deal with it before it gets there. And another one that maybe is a little subtler theme, that was pretty overt. Ocean Crisis, you got to clean up the ocean. The Aquacorn Cove game, where you're on a fishing village, and you're trying to build buildings in your village and get food for your village. But if you overfish, it will reduce the population of the cove. The mechanism is that you draw fish from a bag, and any duplicates, the same type of fish you get, you can keep going until you decide to stop or your boat is full. But if you keep going and draw duplicate fish, you will discard the duplicates out of the bag, and they never go back into the system. So now you've permanently reduced the population that you can then draw from on future turns.
Oh, that would make me sad. I don't want to play that.
I mean, there's other ways to sort of
Right.
replenish things, but it has also, storm damage will hurt you when you have to sort of repair it or repair damage to the reef, and it's a little more. It's a cooperative game. So is Ocean Crisis. They're both co-ops. I think I like Aquacorn Cove better. It's a little more subtle. But those both have a real connection to the world that they inhabit, and you are trying to take care of it, which is certainly a nature theme.
As soon as you brought up the conservation aspect, I thought of a specific game that then the chat also brought up, and that's Rescue Polar Bears, which, obviously it's about the polar bears, but what is happening during the course of the game is the ice floes that they are on are melting and disappearing. So it is very much about nature. But then I realized now all three of those games, these conservation games, are all cooperative. Are there any conservation-based games that are competitive in nature? I mean, technically, that Firewatch game that you talk about, what was it called? The Fire Tower?
Fire Tower? That is not a conservation game. No.
Is that a nature game, though? I think it is.
Yeah, it is. It's fire.
I loved hearing you and Rich Sommer talk about that when he was on the daily chat with you.
He didn't even know about it. I'm so glad I got to introduce that game to him.
I actually bought Firewatch on the Switch because it was on sale recently. I had previously watched someone else play through the whole game online, but it's been long enough now that I think I don't remember all the details, and so I'm really excited to play through it and get to hear Rich Sommer's buttery voice as I go through the whole thing.
And I mean, that one, as far as video games go, that one has I would consider that a nature game, even though that's not the point to cultivate nature, but you are exploring this vast space, and you are the only human you interact with in person. And so you are just sort of walking around, and it's really cool, and different ecosystems within this section of the park that you're in charge of. It changes as you enter them. But back to the cardboard world, I'm trying to think if there's any other. I had a flip and write. I got to dig it out. Hang on a second.
Okay, well, while you're digging it out, somebody in the chat mentioned something that actually somebody on Twitter mentioned today as well, and that's Spirit Island, which is another co-op and is conservation-esque, but it's more about conserving, I think, the people than nature itself. But you are spirits of nature, so I'd say it's definitely a nature game.
Yep. Josh mentioned CO2, which is a competitive conservation game. Yes. So it's one of those semi-co-op style games. I think that's as far as you can go with that theme. So there is a way for you to basically lose if you just let the pollution go too far, but you are competing to do the best job running your empire and keeping things contained, if I recall correct. It's been a while since I played. I haven't played the newer version of CO2. The last two that I wanted to mention, games that emulate some sort of ecosystem of wildlife. So Fox, which I think I talked about here as well, with predators and prey going around. There was a 2-player Cosmos game that was about hunters and the hunted animals, and you played competitively. One side was the animals and one side was the hunters, and moving around trying to corner each other. And this one just showed up from Pandasaurus. I have not played this yet, but it's the Sonoran Desert, Sonora. It is a flick and write game.
I desperately want this game.
You'll flick these discs into this arena basically, and then cross off sections of the scoring board. But this falls under the nature theme. I don't think I'm going to get the sense that I'm exploring the desert, but it's certainly a different theme. But it's much more of it's basically a roll and write, flick and write sort of abstract
I like
experience.
that we're doing a whole bunch of new something and right games.
Yes.
The one that I still want to design someday is a spin and right game where you have a spinner, like old style, like old roll and move games that had a spinner instead of a die, but like it would be dry erase board material, and you would be adding things to your spinner or maybe taking them away throughout the course of the game. Like I'm picturing like you draft something to put in the sections at the beginning of the game and then spin it to do things. I don't know. I have no theme for this, but I want to design it someday. So maybe somebody else can do something with that idea.
There you go. Any others that you brought up as an example?
I mean, there's a lot of games about, you know, plants and flowers and nature. Like I've got Lotus. I like that newer game Succulent that just came out not too long ago. Mm-hmm. We already mentioned Herbaceous, and I have Herbaceous Sprouts as well. I'm trying to think if I wrote any others down. I mean, there are definitely some other animal-based games that feel a little bit nature-y, but not as much to me. I think a lot of nature games have animal components, but games that are purely about animals are often not as nature-y feeling. Like I thought about Happy Pigs, which is about farming, but that's not really nature. That feels too domestic.
Yep. You mentioned habitats. The Corne van Moorsel. That's such a hard name to say. Corne game, koali game that is about animals and their habitats and expanding those. Somebody in the chat, I saw Evolution get brought up, which is much more about the not just keeping the food supply managed, but also the animals that inhabit nature and how they evolve and change and adapt to the situation. There are a lot of them.
Yeah, you got the follow-ups to that one as well, like Oceans, things like that.
Well, that's very cool. If I think we have a few more minutes before we need to sign off for the night. If there are any questions that you have in the chat, feel free to hit us up and we can bring those up. Crystal, are there any other events that you and I are involved with next week for the Summer Spectacular? We mentioned Friday's game show, spectacular game show. Anything else coming up for you?
Well, I believe you and I are both participating in our individual top 10 lists. We're not in the same one together.
Right.
But I am doing a top 10 list on next Wednesday with Tom, Z, and Paula Deming. We are doing our top 10 games from 2010, which was 10 years ago. And I will admit, I am all ready to get flack from Tom because, I mean, he would do that no matter what my picks were because that's just how he is. But I will admit, I helped pick this as our category thinking it would be fun and easy. And there are a lot of good games that came out in 2010 that I haven't played. So my top 10 list will be less, these are the top 10 best games from 2010, and more, these are my favorite 10 games from 2010. I have played more than 10, but not by a whole lot.
Sure. Yeah. I am also doing a top 10 list. We'll be doing the first of the top 10 lists for the Spectacular, which is Tuesday at 1 p.m. Eastern. It will be the podcast crew. So Tom, me, Suzanne, and Mandy, and we'll be doing our top 10 board game apps, which was a little bit trickier for me. I have not played that many. I think I'm going to get a lot of flack from Suzanne, who plays a lot of them. So that'll be a fun discussion. And I am also going to be hosting the Dice Tower Awards on Thursday night with also Mandy and Suzanne and Tom, and I'm sure lots of other special guests. That's a process that it's gone on for many years with the Dice Tower Awards, and I'm excited to see what the winners are, who the winners are for this year's awards. So that'll be fun too.
Yeah. I will admit, unrelated to the Summer Spectacular, I'm excited about the next episode of the Dice Tower podcast because Suzanne is going to be joining you and Tom for that one.
Yes.
I believe. I don't know if you've already recorded it or not, but
it's
I love
coming
that. Yeah, I love that Suzanne said in her last episode with Mandy that she thought, that you all were trying to throw her for a loop with top 10 Q games. I know for a fact why that list will not be difficult for her at all.
It will not. No, we actually had a meeting, and Tom and I were like, oh, wait, you really want to do the Q? She's like, guys, you know how many roll and writes start with the letter Q?
So many! I'm excited to see that list. I think Q is one of those letters that at first you'd be like, oh, there probably aren't that many, but there's a lot of good games that start with Q. I think I could make a top 10, honestly. I'm not certain, but I bet I could.
Not many questions coming into the chat right now. I saw one that was, what's your favorite nature-themed space game?
I don't know.
The only one I can think of is a game called Not Alone that was a not two-player, but one versus many game where astronauts have landed on this planet, but there is a malevolent force on it that is fighting against them, like the ecosystem fights against them. So that sort of works. And I think there are a couple games about like mining asteroids, so that feels a little naturey, exploring for resources that exist in deep space.
Stellar Leap does that. You have to mine asteroids in that game.
Yeah. My favorite space game, of course, would not apply. That is a much more industrial, economic space game. That's not about nature.
So Coralu asked a question in the chat saying, can we just be an audience member for Crystal's karaoke session? And that is 100% yes. So if you look at the event in Tabletop Events, it'll give you all of these details. So definitely go look at that. Again, the event is this Saturday at, I believe, 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern. I think Tabletop Events is Central Time, so I believe it'll be listed for 10 p.m. on the official calendar.
Yes.
But we are doing it on Twitch, on the Board Game Blitz Twitch channel, so you can just come and hang out in the chat. I'm going to try and remember to post in the Discord channel kind of a reminder for people in advance of that, or I'm hoping that whoever's hosting the closing ceremonies might give us a tiny nod at the end of that. But yeah, if you want to sing, you'll have to download the software in advance. It's free. There's no cost, but it's called Twitch Sings, and you have to have that software. And I always suggest that people mess around in that software before they come live with us, just to get a little bit familiar with it. It's not hard to use, but sometimes you'll want to calibrate your video and audio. So if you want to sing, download Twitch Sings and come join us. If you don't want to sing, just hang out in the Twitch chat and watch us sing. And honestly, I will sing White and Nerdy over and over again. No,
until someone shows up.
Ambi has lots of Disney songs to sing, and there's lots of other stuff. Honestly, if you like 80s music, Disney songs, and nerdy music in general, you'll have a real good time if you come to karaoke night.
Amanda asks, will the top 10s be on the Dice Tower YouTube channel? Yes, they will. In fact, all of the summer spectacular programming next week. It's a little confusing because we have the virtual gaming con right now that is happening right now, and various events that go through that system and the Discord server and all of that. The whole system is really nice that Board Game Geek has put together for all of this, and Tabletop Events has put together for all of this. But next week, the summer spectacular is all programming that you will see here on the Dice Towers YouTube channel, so be sure to tune in for that.
Having these weeks back to back was a decision.
Woo!
A lot.
Oh yes.
But again, for this week, for the virtual gaming convention, if anyone does want to play games, especially if you are kind of like me in that you don't necessarily like to sign up for a lot of stuff, you kind of want to just fly by the seat of your pants a little bit more, or you're scared to go find strangers to play games with, please reach out to me. Like, genuinely, send me a message, tweet at me, whatever. I'm in the Discord server. I would love to play a game with you this week at some point. I am still working my regular job during the days, so obviously I'm not available all the time, but don't let your fear of playing games with other people online stop you from participating in this event if it's something that you want to do. So reach out to me, please.
I did see at least one person in the chat saying they're going immediately to the Virtual Gaming Con Discord server in the Looking for a Game section. So if any of you want to migrate over there, I'm sure you'll find lots of people looking to play something this evening, if that is still something you're up for.
And I guess we're kind of wrapping things up then. Before you all leave tonight, if you could do me one tiny favor and just click the little thumbs up button below the video if you liked the show tonight and if you enjoy what Eric and I do for you here every 2 weeks on Wednesday evenings. Our next episode will be 2 weeks from tonight at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. I don't know what we'll be talking about yet, but I bet it'll be something fun. Because honestly, Eric, anytime I get to hang out with you, it's fun. We could be talking about nothing.
And we fill an hour pretty fast. It just flies by.
It really does. But chat, honestly, thank you so much for hanging out with us. Thank you for participating in Family Feud with us. You beat me. I'll have to get revenge at some point in the future. So thank you so much for joining us. We hope to see you the rest of this week at Virtual Gaming Con and next week as part of the Summer Spectacular. Until all of that, I'm Crystal Pisano.
I'm Eric Summerer.
And you've been watching Dice Tower Tonight.
Thank you for watching. Promotional consideration has been provided by game publishers in the form of review copies of games. Crystal and I will see you in 2 weeks for another installment. Our show is supported by viewers like you. Thank you. Dice Tower Tonight is produced by Crystal and me, with assistance from Tom Vassell, Mike DeLisio, Roy Cannaday, and Rob Searing. Our Scrabble player's temper tantrum provided by Through the H's. Timothy Pinkham composed our theme, and hosting is provided by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games at great prices at CoolStuffInc.com. Give us your feedback on the Dice Tower Guild at Board Game Geek, on Facebook or Twitter, or by emailing us at crystal@dicetower.com or eric@dicetower.com. And don't forget to visit the other shows in the Dice Tower Network. Find something new at dicetowernetwork.com. Until next time, from all of us at the Dice Tower, have fun gaming.
Somebody in the chat said any downvotes are just upvotes in Australia, and I am definitely thinking that for the rest of ever. Any thumbs downs just came from Australia, and they are actually thumbs ups.
That is the way it works from here on out.
Definitely.
That's how it goes. Good night, everybody.
Bye, chat.